The Constitution of India, Preamble. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact and give to ourselves this Constitution.
Happy morning, students. First of all, I would like to welcome all the plus one students for the new academic year, that is a golden jubilee year of BSS Gurukulam. So it's a great pride that you all are being a part of this Gurukulam family. Wish you all a great future ahead and have a great academic year also. Today being the first class of chemistry, as I told you in the introduction class, chemistry is always a mystery, right? You feel it difficult if you think it is difficult. You will feel if it is easy if you think it is easy. So it is all a mindset. For any subject it may be concerned. If it is easy, it is easy. Okay. So being our first class, today we are going to start the lesson with a small quote. What does that quote says is, struggling will make you stronger. So here, struggling will make you stronger. I am going to narrate a small story for you. I hope you all like stories, right? So a small story in front of you. The story is like this. There was a man who was walking in his garden. So when he was walking, he saw a butterfly which was trying to come out of its cocoon, right? So he was very keen in observing this. So he sat down and he was watching very closely to see how the butterfly comes out of the cocoon. So he was seeing the butterfly was just struggling, tearing up through the tiny hole to come out. But suddenly the butterfly stopped trying and it thought it cannot come out. So it stopped for a while. But it was not the butterfly's mindset. It was just waiting for it to come out. But this man who was watching it felt very sad for the butterfly, took pity on it. He took a pair of scissors and he just opened the cocoon to make the butterfly come out and fly. So when he was cutting off the cocoon, the butterfly could come out, but it was having a shriveled wings and it has a swollen body. So it could not fly so higher. It was just managing to fly to a little distance high with its swollen body. This man sat there and was eagerly waiting that it would definitely make its wings stronger and it would fly higher. But that never happened. He then realized that it was a God's creation to make the butterfly come or struggle to come out of the cocoon by tearing it so that the swollen body, the fluid which is inside the body would pass through the wings and make the butterfly stronger to fly higher. So this was realized by the man a little bit later. If a small butterfly need to struggle to have a better life, to fly higher, to live happier, think of human beings. We are facing struggles because those struggles will make us more stronger. God has made everything for a purpose. So when He gives a struggle, definitely there will be a solution for that. So children, from today onwards, if we are facing any struggle, maybe this pandemic situation has put us into a big struggle of having a virtual class, but we will overcome the struggle and we will have a wonderful virtual online platform, and through that we will prove we are definitely learning productively. So I wish every one of you again a great and successful academic year. Be happy always and make others happy, children. So now let us get back into our class of the first chapter in chemistry, part 1, some basic concepts in chemistry. Now in this chapter, not only in this chapter, in plus 1 you will be having a continuous evaluation, I told you. So this continuous evaluation can be in the form of assignments, can be in the form of seminars or any projects for that concern. So you are requested to do the assignments for the topics whichever is assigned by your teachers. So those you need to do it continuously on time and submit to your concerned teacher now through WhatsApp and later on maybe through your hard copies. Okay, so are you all ready for the class today? Maybe I would call out some of the names. So be alert in your house, and I know you all have downloaded the PDF for reference. So not only in this class, every class make sure that you are very active and you do 100% of your best and give your best to each and every subject. I know my children are all good, so expecting the best from you all. Let us begin the first chapter, some basic concepts of chemistry. The concepts which you have already learnt. Now chemistry, what is chemistry? It is a branch of science which deals with the study of matter, its composition, its properties and the changes which it undergoes in composition as well as in energy during various process. So this is a branch of science which is dealing with the change in energy and composition. What is energy? Energy can be heat energy, that is thermal energy, which you have learnt about exothermic and endothermic. When you relate to composition, it can be with what all the elements or compounds it is made up of. So those are called as chemistry, that is branch of science. Solid, liquid, gases. So with the basic states of matter, we know these are the basic 3 states of matter. So when we say solid, it has a definite shape and volume. And we know molecules or particles are closely packed. When I say liquid, liquids are those which is in between a solid and liquid. It has a definite volume but takes the shape of the container in which you are pouring. What about gases? Gases, molecules are random and they don't have a definite shape and a definite volume, right?
Matter is anything that occupies space and has a mass. The fruit we eat, the water we drink, and even the gas we breathe are all matter. Matter can exist in one of 3 forms: solid, liquid, or gas. Milk, gasoline, water, and oil are some of the liquid forms. Coal, wood, fruit, and metals are some of the solid forms. The oxygen we breathe in and the carbon dioxide we breathe out are some of the gaseous forms. Some substances, such as water, can actually exist in more than one form. In its most common form, at room temperature, water is liquid. But if we drop the surrounding temperature to 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius, it will freeze, changing into its solid form of ice. In other words, lowering the temperature can change the state of matter. If we fill a cup with ice cubes and heat it in the microwave for a minute or two, the ice will melt and the water will return to its liquid form. If we were to continue heating the water for several minutes, the water will eventually begin to boil and give off water vapor, which is a gas. So we can see that increasing the temperature can also change the state of matter. All matter is composed of much smaller particles. In solids, such as an ice cube, the particles are packed closely and tightly together. In liquids, such as water, the particles are spread a little bit further apart than they are in a solid. In gases, such as water vapor, the particles are spread out with a lot of space between them. The particles also move fast, colliding with one another. Summary: matter is anything that occupies space and has a mass. Matter can exist in one of three forms: solid, liquid, or gas. A change in the temperature will cause a change in the state of matter.
Classification. When we say matter, it is basically classified into three types. But here we are focusing on the classification according to the types of the elements or the compounds present in it. So matter is broadly classified as mixtures and pure substances. What do you mean by mixture? From the name it is very clear that mixtures are those which has got a combination of more number of substances in it. Right, it is not made up of only one substance, it is a combination of different substances together. Mixtures are broadly classified into homogeneous and heterogeneous. When I say homo means same, similar, uniform. That is, the composition is uniform throughout. Those are called as homogeneous mixture. When I make a salt solution, when I put a salt in the water and when I mix it, the composition is uniform, completely dissolved. I cannot find out where is my salt or where is my sugar. So it is a uniform mixture. Heterogeneous mixtures are those which is a non-uniform combination. The eating mixture that you take, you don't know how many varieties or what are the particles are present inside. Pebbles on the sand has got so many different types of pebbles in that. So these are heterogeneous mixtures. So when I say mixture, it has homogeneous and heterogeneous. What about pure substances? Pure substances, when I say pure, it is only that particular substance that is present. It is not a combination of two or many substances together. Such we call it as a pure substance. Now pure substances are classified as elements and compounds. What is an element? This you have been learning from your I think 7th or 8th standard children. In your periodic table there are so many elements, right? Different elements. So when I say element, it's an atom. It's a single atom which has got so many protons or neutrons or electrons, subatomic particles. Those are called as elements. So what are compounds? Now different atoms together or elements together will make up a molecule or a compound. So when I say water is a compound. When I say calcium carbonate, it is a compound. So those are called as compounds. Combination of elements will make us a compound. So this is just a simple classification of matter. So here you can see atoms of different element. I have hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, I have copper and sodium. An atom of hydrogen, when it combines with another atom of hydrogen, it will make a molecule. That is what I told you. Two atoms will make up a molecule. Similarly here, atom of oxygen with another atom of oxygen is again making an oxygen molecule. Two single atoms will make up a molecule. It can be 3 atoms also. When I say ozone, submarine ozone is made up of how many oxygen atoms? 3 oxygen atoms. O. 3 oxygen atom will make a oxygen, that is ozone molecule, right? So Adit Chandran, you are able to follow. Can you tell me what is a molecule? Yes, Adit, you are right. It is a combination of atoms. When 2 different atoms join together, it will make up a molecule.
Mixtures. A mixture is a physical combination of 2 or more substances. The substances within the mixture won't form any sort of chemical bond. Instead, they are simply mixed together. Air, for example, is a mixture of different gases such as oxygen, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and water vapor. A solution, an example of which could be made by completely dissolving table salt in distilled water, is also a mixture. Based on the distribution of their components, mixture can be categorized as either homogeneous or heterogeneous. In this session, we limit our focus to homogeneous mixtures. A homogeneous mixture is one in which the components are uniformly distributed throughout the mixture. In other words, everything will be the same throughout. In salt and water mixture, the table salt, known by its chemical name as sodium chloride, has been completely dissolved in water, and all of the liquid appears as one single medium or phase. If we were to use a dropper and sample some of the solution from any part of the beaker, it will have the same composition of water and salt, and it will have the same properties, including the salty taste. All solutions are homogeneous mixtures. Many solutions are in the form of liquids such as sugar solution, which is a mixture of sugar and water. Vinegar, which is a mixture of acetic acid and water, is also a homogeneous solution. But homogeneous mixture of gases also can form solutions. Air is a homogeneous mixture of gases, making it a gaseous solution. Homogeneous mixture of solids can even be solutions. One example is stainless steel, which is a mixture of iron, chrome, and nickel. Summary. A mixture is a physical combination of 2 or more substances. A homogeneous mixture is a mixture in which the components are distributed uniformly throughout. All solutions are generally homogeneous mixtures. Homogeneous mixtures. A mixture is a physical combination of 2 or more substances. The substances within the mixture won't form any sort of chemical bond. Instead, they are simply mixed together. Based on the distribution of their components, mixtures can be categorized as either homogeneous or heterogeneous. In this session, we'll concentrate only on heterogeneous mixtures. A heterogeneous mixture is one in which the components are not uniformly distributed throughout. Heterogeneous mixtures consist of visibly different parts or phases. We can see an example of this if we pour some vinegar and olive oil into a beaker. Although both are liquids, they won't blend together. Instead, the olive oil will be distinctly separate from the vinegar, showing 2 distinct phases. If we sample from the top of the mixture, we'll get only olive oil. But if we take the sample from the lower part, we'll get only vinegar. If we mix sand with water in a beaker, the result will be another heterogeneous mixture. After some time, the larger sand particles will settle at the bottom, forming 2 phases in the mixture. If we mix 2 liquids such as oil and water, we'll create an emulsion, a type of heterogeneous mixture made up of 2 liquids that won't blend. A suspension is a heterogeneous mixture composed of a solid and a liquid. An example of a suspension is a mixture of soil and water. A gas and liquid mixture, such as the carbon dioxide in the water used for soft drinks, is a heterogeneous mixture. Smoke is a heterogeneous mixture of gases and solid particles. Summary: a mixture is a physical combination of two or more substances. A heterogeneous mixture is one in which the components are not uniformly distributed throughout.
International system of units. This is very important because you will have to do certain problems in chemistry. You are also doing in physics as well, which will help you to write the unit for the particular quantity, physical quantity. See, this was designed in 1960, and what does it tell us? These are the physical quantities, these are the symbol which are used to represent those physical quantities, and this is the name of the SI unit and this is the symbol of the unit. Length, it is denoted as L, meter is the unit, it is represented as small m. Do not use capital M, it is small m. Capital M we use for molarity. You remember children, molality, right? So, molar quantity and all we use. Here mass represented as small m, kilogram, but the unit is kg, capital K and small g. Next you have time, T is the symbol, second, and you use S. Electric current, I is the symbol, ampere and A. Though we don't use electric current here, you might be using in your physics ampere and all, right? Thermodynamic temperature, T, Kelvin, K. Normally we used to tell in Celsius and Fahrenheit, but here in chemistry when you come, we do the problems only in terms of Kelvin. You will convert your Celsius or Fahrenheit into Kelvin. Amount of substance, N, mole and MOL. I think you remember children, mole concept was the haunting topic for us, right, in 10th standard. Then luminous intensity, we don't have this here, I, IV, that is candela, CD. Okay. Now again, prefixes used in SI system, you know about this, right? Kilo, deca, centi, milli, micro, hepta, nano. This is there in the textbook, that's a copy of this. So please just go through because this will be useful for us when we are doing our problems. To convert meter to centimeter or millimeter or nano or decimeter, you should be knowing the conversions. Okay, so this is used there. And this is the balance, analytical balance, which is helping for us to weigh the amount of the substance. You will be seeing in the lab where we use the analytical balance for measuring the amount of the salt to be used. These are just pictures of how were the measuring devices. You will see these in our lab. Graduated cylinder, volumetric flask, burette and pipette for taking out the solutions. Okay. And this is for calculating. You know, if you know the value of 1 cube, that into that many cubes will be getting the volume of the whole cube. So, this is a small part of the section of this whole cube. This one, which is 1 centimeter. So, that into the whole mass we will be getting the volume of the entire cube. You will not be getting these questions, children. This is just a part to recollect or refresh about volume and density. Okay. Density, again I think you have learnt about density. It is nothing but the ratio of mass and volume. SI unit of mass and SI unit of volume will give us density, kg per meter cube, or you can also say gram per centimeter cube. I told you temperature, we have Kelvin, Celsius and Fahrenheit. So if the temperature is given in Fahrenheit, you can convert it into Celsius, and again Celsius, when you add 273 Kelvin, you will get your Kelvin. So you will not be having these type of questions, but you will definitely get to convert Celsius into Kelvin. So whatever is the Celsius given to us in the question, you must add 273 Kelvin, 0.15 Kelvin to convert it into your Kelvin temperature. Now, this is very important, scientific notation. What do you mean by scientific notation? That is using the scientific method of writing the numbers. As chemistry is the study of atoms and molecules which have extremely low masses, we know these are very small subatomic particles. We were learning about Avogadro number. You remember children, 6.022 into 10 raised to 23. Why does it came with the mole concept? It is because the mass of so many are very difficult to find out for us. So we use this Na, that is Avogadro number. A chemist has to deal with numbers as big as 602, 200000 followed by so many zeros. So what he did do is, this problem is solved by using scientific notation using exponential form. That is, it can be represented in the form of n 10 to the power of n. That is why we write 6.022 into 10 raised to 23. N, this capital N is 6.022, 10 raised to 10 into 10 raised to 23 again. Right. Now, this is going to be very important. You may get 1 mark question from this for your board exam. What is written in this? We will see. Multiplication and division. These two operations follow the same rules. Now, you will be given two numbers where you have to multiply it or you may have to divide it. What are the rules that we need to follow? Listen very carefully, children. There are two numbers given to us. The first number is 5.6 into 10 to the power of 5. The second question is 6.9 into 10 to the power of 8. So, there are two numbers given to us. We need to multiply that. What is the first rule? We will take only the numbers first. What are the numbers? 5.6 into 6.9. Only the numbers we will take and put it in a separate bracket. In another bracket, we will take the powers of 10. 10 to the power of 5, 10 to the power of 8. So, how do we do it here? 10 to the power of 5 plus 8. When it comes in the term of multiplication, you should add the powers of 10. So, you write 10 to the power of 5 plus 8. So, what do I get? 5.6 into 6.9 into 10 raised to 5 plus 8 is 13. So, I put here 13. So, again when I multiply this, I get an answer 38.64 into 10 raised to 13. So, when I move the decimal to my right, it becomes 10 to the power of 14. I hope you are able to follow, children. When two numbers are given to us to multiply, you put the numbers first in a separate bracket, put the powers of 10. Since it is a multiplication, you should add the powers of 10 and then add it separately and you will get the answer. If you leave with this also, does not matter. No need to move the decimal to your left and right more than that. Okay. Now, when two numbers are given to us to divide, what am I supposed to do? The question is like this. 2.7 into 10 raised to minus 3 divided by 5.5 into 10 to the power of 4. What I should do now? I will put the numbers separately first. I will divide 2.7 divided by 5.5 in a separate bracket. In another bracket, I take 10 to the powers. 10 power minus 3. Now, this 10 power 4 is in the denominator. When I take to the numerator, what it will become? Minus. Not only that, it is a subtraction. When it comes in the case of division, I should do subtraction. When it is multiplication, I add. When it is division, I will subtract. So, it will be 10 power minus 3 minus 4. It is not only the denominator there, it is because of division you will subtract the 10 to the powers. So, it will be 10 power minus 3 minus 7 which is minus 4 which is minus 7. So, here when you divide this you get 0.4909. To move the decimal you put 4.909. So, when a decimal is moved to its right, the powers become from minus 7 to minus 8. Understood, children? These are the things which you already know. Moving the powers or moving the decimal, what will happen to the 10 powers, okay. Now, the next one is Addition and subtraction. For these two operations, the first numbers are written in such a way that they have the same exponent. Here the case is different. In multiplication, the 10 powers, though they are different, you are just adding. But here in addition, the 10 powers should be the same. They should have the same value, then only I can add. Example, let us see. The question is 6.65 into 10 power 4 and 8.95 into 10 power 3. Here my power is 10 power 4. Here it is 10 power 3. I want to make both 10 power 3 or both 10 power 4. So what I will do? I will take 6.65 into 10 power 4 as such plus this 8.95, I want to make it 10 power 4. How I can make 10 power 4? I will move one decimal from right to my left. Moving the decimal from right to left will increase the power of the positive integer. So it will become 0.895 because 8.95 became 0.895 into 10 power 3 has become 10 power 4. What is the purpose of doing it? Because here also it is 10 power 4, here also it is 10 power 4. Now the exponent value is same for both the numbers. Now when you add, it will be easy. How should I add now? 6.65 plus 0.895, I put it in a bracket. Outside I make this 10 power 4 common because that is same for both the numbers. So when I add these two, I get an answer into 10 power 4. You are able to understand, children? This comes only in the case of addition and subtraction, because in multiplication and division no worries with that. Separately we are doing the exponents. Now in case of subtraction we will see how to do it. The question is 2.5 into 10 power minus 2 minus 4.8 into 10 power minus 3. Now I want to make 10 power minus 3 into 10 power minus 2. What should I do now? I write the first question as such, minus, I move my decimal to my left again. So it will become 0.48 into 10 power minus 2. Remember, positive integer always increases when I move the decimal to my left, and negative integers always decreases when I move the decimal to my left. So what happens here? 2.5 minus 0.48 and 10 power minus 2 is common. So once I solve the problems, I get 2.02 into 10 raised to minus 2. So these are the things which you should remember when you are doing the scientific notation, that is in case of multiplication, division, addition and subtraction. You may get these questions in your board. So for what is that? Prevention is better than cure. So let us just prepare ourselves so that we don't miss this 1 mark question. Significant figures. What is significant? Significant means important, or I will say valid, or that has some value, right? That is called as significant figures. Every experimental measurement has some amount of uncertainty associated with it. I do an experiment, I get an answer. There can be some uncertainty. What is uncertainty means? Some errors, some sort of mistakes that are happening in my calculations. However, one would like the results to be precise and accurate. Precision and accuracy are often referred to while we talk about the measurement. Precise, accurate. Precise means something close to the correct answer. Accurate means perfect. You are able to follow, children? Precise, something I am getting close to my answer. I am not perfect in that. I have not got the correct answer. Accurate means that is the answer. Precision refers to the closeness of various measurements for the same quantity. Accuracy is the agreement of the particular value to the true value. Agreement means I know this is correct to the true value. That is called as accuracy. Now what are the rules? There are certain rules which are very, very important when you are doing the significant figures. Again, this comes in 1 mark question for you. See here, children. Data to illustrate precision and accuracy. Student A 1.95, 1.13. 1.94, 2.05, 2.01, 1 point. This is the average. So these are nothing but precise or accurate results. Both of them are not getting the same value, something close to the original value. Okay. Now let us get to the rules. The first and the foremost rule is all non-zero digits are significant. All non-zero digits means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. These 9 digits are significant figures. There are example 285 centimeter. How many significance are there? 2, 8, 5. So there are 3 significant figures. Let's take a question. 0.25 ml. 0.25, I told you non-zero digits. So here will not be considered, only after decimal I have 2 and 5. So 2, 5, there are 2 significant figures. Zeros preceding to first non-zero digit are not significant. Such zero indicates the position of the decimal point. What does it mean? We'll see with an example. 0.03 has one significant figure. 0 which is preceding means which comes before the first non-zero digit. This is my first non-zero digit 3. This 0 comes before this digit preceding. It indicates only a decimal point, so it has only one significant figure, that is 3. Let's take another example. 0.0052. After decimal I have 2 zeros, but 5, 2 and non-zero digits are there, which means there are 2 significant figures. Understood, children? The third point is 0 between 2 non-zero digits. Here it is before the non-zero digit. Here it is between 2 non-zero digits are significant. Example 2.005. It is not 0.005. If it is 0.005, I will have only one significant figure, because these 2 zeros become invalid. But here my zeros are between 2 non-zero digits, which is 2 and 5. So I have how many significant figures? 1, 2, 3, 4. So when zeros are placed between 2 non-zero digits, those also become significant. Next one, zeros at the end or right of a number are significant. 0 at the end or right of a number are significant. Now, but what is the condition? Provided they are on the right side of the decimal point. They should be at the right side of the decimal point, not after the number. Let us see an example. 0.200. The decimal is here. After the decimal point, I have 2 zeros, right? 200. So how many significant figures? 3 significant figures, because these 2 zeros come after this decimal point. Now a comparison is, otherwise the terminal zeros are not significant if there is no decimal point. Since there was a decimal point here, after this, before these zeros, it is considered as a significant figure. You take an example 100. There is no decimal point here, no decimal point anywhere. So how many significant figure here? 1. 1 is the only significant figure. But if I have a question, 100 decimal point, 100 decimal point or 100 decimal point plus 0. How many significant figures it will be there? Since the decimal point is here, it will be 1, 2, 3. 3 significant figures. In case of this number, 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 significant figures. So the decimal point plays a very important role. See the 3 numbers, children. 100, 100 dot, 100 dot 0. Okay. Next one, counting numbers of objects. For example, 2 balls or 20 eggs can have so many insignificant numbers, infinite numbers. Like for example, when I say 2, it can be 2.00000. I don't know how many zeros are there. Similarly for 20, there can be so many, right? So instead of writing, it can be represented by writing infinite number of zeros. Instead of writing 2, we can also write 2.000. 20.000, because all those becomes insignificant. We are not going to put it a value for that. So what we'll do is, these 5 rules are very important in case of significant figures. So today we have learnt about matter, its classification, also about the different physical quantity, its units and the symbols used to represent that, and we also learnt about significant figures, and we also learnt about multiplication, addition, division and subtraction of the numbers. So children, with today's class I stop here. I hope you have got an idea about what are these. The first chapter, the first part has got. You have your PDF with you, some of you will be having your textbook as well. Go through the text, mark the important points, and for you an important website is there. Please take down children. It is hss.live.in. I repeat, hss.live.in. I will be sending you the link as well, which will help you to go through all the topics, because the notes for this will be given in HSS Live. You can copy those notes, whichever you feel that are important, in a notebook. For chemistry, you need to maintain a notebook. It can be ruled or unruled, but have a good handwriting, because you are writing to make yourself understand. So write legibly and do the homework then and there. I will be sending you a homework of significant figures through my broadcast or WhatsApp. Do the homework in your chemistry notebook and send the photos to me so that I can correct, because I will be putting CE marks for you then and there. If you have any doubt in the topic, please call me or post your questions through WhatsApp personally. If the doubts are common, I will be clarifying the doubts again on the board as well. Okay, I hope you all had a good session today. I pray that we meet very soon to have a strong class of interaction between us and to have a successful year as well. Okay, thank you children. Take care. Have a great day.